All right, starting off. So you'll notice the runners have different offsets. That's because they're starting at different times. One's starting at file select, and the other is starting at the opening text. And the important part is that for the most part, both timers start at 0 when you get control of Samus, which is what matters.
Yeah. Okay, so by the way, they were manually aiming at those first few targets because for some reason, for the first 3 seconds, the game doesn't let you target for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah, it's playing a HUD warm-up animation there. One of the downsides is the game doesn't let you lock on the targets while it's doing that. So for those of you unfamiliar with Prime, this area is called Frigate. It was basically put in the game as, I guess, a tutorial for new players so that they can learn the controls before getting thrown into the open world. Unfortunately, that means it's pretty boring and kind of linear. You basically just go into the end of the level, you kill the boss, and you go back and backtrack through most of the level to get back to the starting room where you get warped to the Talon. And maybe one of these runners will be doing escape skip. So we just saw Sjorec doing through biotech research with something called scan dashing. Basically, in the first release version of this game, you can combat dash off scan points as if they were an enemy. And by letting go of the lock key at the right time, you keep your velocity instead of losing it. And then you can just go flying across the room.
To add to that, this game has a forward and backwards speed cap, but for some reason the game has no sideways speed cap, and that's why scan dashing works the way it does.
I wouldn't be surprised if those speed caps aren't there simply because that's the only way dashing would work. But then they fixed that in Echoes.
Yeah, where they put a speed cap of 18. As opposed to this where you can get, with a scan dash, you can get up to like 39 speed.
There's also vertical speed caps as well. Without space jump, it's 11. And with space jump, it's 14, I think. So literally every direction besides sideways is capped.
That explains why space jump you can jump higher with one jump than even if you don't have space jump.
And that's also why ghettos are capped. I'm sorry, slope jumps are capped. With the sole exception of ledge clip slope jump.
Okay, so what they did there with the Parasite Queen is, normally you're supposed to scan her and then you can lock onto her mouth, which does triple damage, but you can just manually aim up and kill Parasite Queen that way.
Evacuate immediately.
And the other technique they used was rapid fire missile, so essentially you just hold up on the C-stick and it resets Samus's arm cannon, allowing you to shoot about 3 missiles every second, as opposed to like 1. Like every second or 2? I don't remember.
It's easily the highest DPS move you can do. Beats out Plasma. Okay, so it looks like both of these runners are going to be doing inbounds here, so no out-of-bounds escape. So basically this is the second half of Frigate, where you're just backtracking through the entire level that you just went through, using a slightly different route that mostly goes through all these ventilation shafts.
And what you're going to notice while they're, especially when they're going uphill or up slopes, during the escape, they're going to be doing a technique called L jumping. if you hold L, it keeps your speed locked. So if you hold when you jump, it slows you down and then speeds you up. So if you hold L while it's supposed to slow you down, your speed's locked, and then letting go of L allows you to speed up. So it's faster than just normal walking.
Yeah, when holding forward in this game in the air, you build velocity. So it's not the L lock key, as you said. All it's doing is locking your velocity during the slowest part of the jump, and then you're letting go and holding forward to build that speed. It makes you go faster. These cutscenes were skippable in later versions of the game. Unfortunately, we have to suffer with them in the NTSC release.
Yeah, most of them are now. Most of them you can skip in PAL. And here you see that we're gonna lose all of our items.
The big tough bounty hunter just loses all of our items by bumping into a wall.
Yeah. You can skip this cutscene by going out of bounds, and it's actually overall faster. The problem is, even though you don't lose your items here, there's another trigger when you get onto Talon, and so you'll lose your items anyway, so it doesn't matter.
And so here you are back in the first room, made a full circle, and now you can actually start the game.
Within 1 second apart of these, or for escape times, not bad.
Yeah, they're really close here. RTA is only a few seconds apart too.
Yeah, so Sjorec got the cutscene skip at the elevator about a minute into the run, and Skull missed it.
So now that we're on Talon, the first thing you do is the biggest sequence break in the game, which is get space jump first before any other items. Using scan dashes, as mentioned before, you can get up onto the pathway that leads to space jump. Whereas normally you would have to go to Fendrana, get boost ball, come back, and then get space jump.
Yeah, so instead of space jump being like the 7th item you get it first. Which really breaks open the early game, as you'll see.
Yeah, this game's rooms are very small. The environment's very closed in. So the developers really heavily relied on not being able to jump farther or higher in order to maintain the sequence of the game. And glitches like L jumping and R jumping and just getting space jump really just completely break that design.
Space jump first is possible on player's choice, but you need to target some beetles in the next room. That's the only way you can do it on player's choice. So what you notice these guys doing is they're getting either getting a missile expansion and an energy tank, both of which you're not supposed to have at this point. Now, the missile expansions work exactly the same as a missile launcher. The only difference between the two is that the missile launcher has a fancy cutscene. But they both have fully functioning missiles now.
And using a scan dash, you can just skip right over the boss battle to get more ball.
Oh, the battle will come.
Oh yes, how can I forget? You're forced to fight these beetles. There's no possible way to get around them.
Bye.
Except what he just did there. So using a combat dash, he just dashed right out of the fighting pit using space jump. Unfortunately, the side effect of that is that the cue to change the music doesn't happen, so you're stuck with the boss battle music until you hit music trigger later in Energy Core.
This is good music. Okay, so the reason he opened the map there was when you go into that room, that door will not open until every adjacent room is loaded. But for some reason, opening up the map will allow that door to open up anyway. It's only that door, and I have no idea why that was.
Maybe it changes the sequences that the rooms get loaded, I don't know.
So they just got Charge Beam, and this is one of those items that's not really required to beat the game, but it's much, much faster to get it. Just for comparison, an uncharged power shot deals 2 damage, where a fully charged power shot deals 50. Blowing up that save station door is very important for a trick coming up in about 25-30 minutes.
Yeah, I believe player's choice, or maybe it's PAL, they put in it just simply can't get plasma without power bombs, and I think grapple.
You can get it without power bombs. On PAL, you can't get it without power bombs. On player's choice, the door is locked unless you have grapple beam.
Ah, there you go. Yeah, I don't know much about the differences in versions.
So now we're coming up to one of our favorite bosses, the Incinerator drone. We like to call him Zoid because the developer who made this boss is named Zoid, and he likes randomness. So what they're waiting for is a red dot to pop up, and you essentially fire a missile or a fully charged shot at that button. And the first time it pops up, it takes 8 to 13 seconds. And for the other 3, it's 15 to 25 seconds. So there's up to 35 seconds of variance. So right now it looks like Sjorec is having good RNG right now, which is really nice. But yeah. Why? Because Zoid likes RNG for some reason. Thanks.
Yeah, you see him scanning things there because there's essentially nothing you can do while you're waiting for that weak spot to come up.
Usually we use the music to tell how fast the fight was, and I have no game audio right now, so I can't tell, but it looked like it was a pretty fast fight. Usually if it doesn't loop, then you had a pretty good fight if the music doesn't loop at all.
My memory is a little vague, but I believe you can actually open a door from the other side of a lock, but the lock has collision, so you can't walk through it anyway. Or maybe that might be echoes.
Okay, so one of the differences here is Skull is doing the energy core puzzle. This means that he's not going to have to do a wall crawl later on, and wall crawl means going out of bounds. He's not going to have to go out of bounds later when he comes back to get Ice Beam.
Yeah, to be specific, not doing the puzzle doesn't mean you have to. You'll have to do it later, but because of the way the puzzle's set up, it's fastest to do it when leaving the Morph Ball battle. And unfortunately, loses a whole lot of RTA, which for a race, using RTA timing is kind of important. So now you can see the small gap they had has become much wider now due to that puzzle. And Sjorec's coming up here on the cutscene boss. So the idea behind this boss is that he has 4 sun mirrors around him that give him power, and you have to knock them up to knock him out and make his weak spots vulnerable. Which you do for the first round because it's the fastest strat. But because we picked up Space Jump early, and this boss is not designed for you to have that item yet, you can just jump straight to the bomb slots and blow them up that way, which you'll see shortly.
Yeah, I don't. Did either of them take a safety save? I don't think so.
No.
No.
And so because of this sequence break that lets you just jump straight to the bomb slots, the ratio of gameplay to cutscenes in this boss is horrendously bad. And so almost all the time spent here is just watching Flagra swipe at nothing.
Yeah, Flagra's not supposed to do that. Normally, she kind of like goes back into the flower and then comes back out. But because you damage those slots in a way you're not supposed to, Flagra instead starts to attack you where you're supposed to be once this cutscene plays.
Surprising how many people are saying their backup strat is supers and spider. I guess for people that get spider ball anyway, that's not a big detour, but for someone like me who skips spider, that's a massive time loss.
That's almost 10 minutes. Between supers, spiders, and then the detour to get wild, that's almost 10 minutes. I don't know, it's anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes. It's insane. Skull seems to
So we kind of went through that without saying why, what you need a backup for. So after this fight, you actually need to come back to this room and get an artifact, and the fastest way to do that is to trigger the layer that you need to get that artifact in the next room, which is halfway down. You have to do an infinite bomb jump to get back up, and it can be a pretty tricky stunt to pull off for newer players.
Yeah, essentially what he means by room layers is there's a trigger, as he mentioned, halfway down, and once you hit that trigger and come back up to this room, Flaggers and the mirrors are no longer going to be there, but what's going to be there instead are a bunch of ghosts that you have to fight.
When you kill those ghosts, poof, the artifact appears, you can grab it and you can be on your way.
Alright, so Sjorec is about to attempt early wild.
So this trick works by jamming the morph ball into a corner where it doesn't fall as fast as it normally will, which gives your bombs time to replenish so that you can do what's called an infinite bomb jump. And you just keep bomb jumping until you get back up to the door you need to be on.
Okay, and he got it.
And so failing that trick means you need to get the items required to normally get up here again, In that case, that's supers and spider.
Which there is a bomb jump you can do to skip supers, but that bomb jump is extremely difficult.
The cess bomb jump. Bomb jump found shortly before the infinite bomb jump was found. And so about this ghost fight, these ghosts are almost entirely RNG dependent. The way you're supposed to fight them is you're normally supposed to have X-ray or wait for them to appear like this. They can only be damaged without X-ray visor by when they're visible. And as you can see, when they dash, they turn invisible. But if you hit them just as they start their dash or interrupt the dash before they turn invisible, they get stunned and they stay visible. And using that strat, you can completely stun lock them until they're dead.
Alright, and now Skull's about to do early while. Again, this is a one-shot trick. If you fail this, you have to get supers and spider.
And
Ooh.
Yep, that's it. Alright,
Yep.
so oh, don't reset? Oh, that's right. Did he save? Yeah, he saved.
He saved the
He's gonna-
Gathering Hall. He saved the Gathering Hall.
Yeah,
so
so he's gonna give.
Skull is opting to redo Flagra and go for early wild again.
I don't know if that actually saves time when you're already collecting Spider Ball.
I don't think he is collecting Spider Ball.
I wouldn't say it's task only. You can do the cess bomb jump or you can wall crawl, both of which are capable by humans.
Wall crawl and get floaty jump.
Yeah, that too. For a PB at 10 decibel, it's one shot.
Yeah. Alright, so what he's getting here is the Artifact of Nature. Normally, you need to see if it's... or you use X-ray to check that there's an artifact there, and then you're supposed to use super missiles, but for some reason, you can just use 2 normal missiles, and it will blow that up anyway, which is a really good thing, because you never come back to this area of Magmor ever again. So, the fact that you can just use 2 missiles to blow it up saves a lot of time, and it means you don't have to get supers, which is pretty far out of the way.
Yeah, despite how useful supers are, with the amount of sequence breaks we've found, there's no reason to get them unless your run category literally says get all the items.
Okay, to get up on that platform, what Sjorec did was something called a ghetto jump. It was explained a little bit before, but if you jump along a slope, you get some extra vertical height.
Yeah, I'm not sure why that works. Maybe because the jump adds to you already moving up from the slope. Poverty hops.
Alright, so now Sjorec is coming up on Fendrana's Rift, and he's skipping the cutscene here to save real time, but normally in a PvE attempt, we optimize by in-game time, and if you let that cutscene play out until you see Samus walking forward, Samus will be further forward than she would normally be. in-game time.
Jump, jump. Yeah, negative ghetto jumps. The same reason, I'm guessing, slope jumps, ghetto jumps, whatever you want to call them. Same reason they work. It works in reverse. If you're going down a slope, you'll lose height from your jump.
Yeah, so it looks like Skull died to Flagra. Flagra can be a very punishing boss sometimes. Ooh, yeah, so Sjorec tried to get a... that's a very precise double jump to get up on that platform. So now he's opting to do a dash instead. And he makes it.
Alright, so next up for Sjorec here is going to be getting Wave Beam before he heads back to Magmore. I'm not sure if he's going to be doing Wave Sun.
Let's take a look first and then explain. Hi Ridley, even though that shadow is like twice your size.
And also in the wrong spot. Alright, looks like he's doing it. So Sjorec here is going to be doing a trick that we call Wave Sun. And unlike most of Prime's tricks, this one is accurately named. You're getting the artifact of Sun and Wave Beam at the same time. And to do that, you need to go out of bounds so that you can get a room in a specific state so that you can do a trick called Infinite Speed. So that you can get both items at the same time, and we'll explain that when it gets there.
Okay, one thing to note is he made sure that the room he exited from is not loaded. Otherwise, the game crashes. But when you're out of bounds, normally when you go through doors, it transitions into another room. The rooms are loaded by usually loaded by load triggers or by shooting a door. Out of bounds, you still have to do that, but you need to do it manually.
So yeah, going on that, the world is split up into these rooms, and not all the rooms are loaded at once. So normally when you're in game, you're hitting invisible cubes in the map called triggers that load these rooms as you're moving through the world. And when you're out of bounds, it's really easy to not hit those triggers, and the rooms will not load. And so this odd movement you're seeing with doors and triggers is them forcing those rooms to load.
The other thing is he's making sure to stand on very specific spots that he's memorized. Yeah, he's in the wrong spot to get a boost here.
So he needs to get back in bounds here, and he's going to do that by boosting through the wall, but it's a pretty precise precision, and right now he's not in it. He's a little too high up this slope he's on, so he's trying to get back down by bomb jumping without falling.
Yeah, and it's...
And he fell.
Yep.
Alright, so now...
Alright, time to explain Ether, I guess.
Yeah. So every room here is surrounded by an invisible box. It's called Ether, and the story behind that's kind of long. But basically, when standing in this Ether, Samus does not fall. And on the floor here, the game's trying to reposition you, and during that repositioning, you can get a jump. And you can also go onto the sides of the boxes and do something called ether jumping, where you have a 3-frame window after leaving that wall to jump again. And chaining those jumps together lets you climb up the box.
Chaining the jumps together is extremely difficult, especially if you're not in the corner of a box or near a corner of a box, because in Metroid Prime, if you fall, you lose complete control of Samus. Also, Sjorec's got to be very careful here because the game thinks he's in a different room. And so if he morphs in the wrong spot, he will soft block his game.
Yeah, you didn't save after a while. Don't count yourself out yet, Skull. It seems like Sjorec's spending quite a bit of time here. He's fallen down twice now. Oh, that's 3.
3. Yeah. Out of all the wall crawls, this is probably the first one that most people learn.
Yeah, no, Sjorec isn't showing it that well. It's probably one of the easier wall crawls. There's not a whole lot of tricky transitions or iffy collision you got to get through.
Yeah, and it's one of the most forgiving if you fall, except if you fall in the first room. The first room is terrible if you fall in.
And it looks like he's in.
Alright, yep, he's in. Good.
Alright, so the entire goal of that wall crawl was to get the game to think he was in the room after this one, which also loads the room Wavebeam is in. And using a trick he's going to do now called Infinite Speed, you can touch almost anything that's loaded currently in the game, and in this situation that's just this room, the room after, and the Wavebeam room. And because you're touching everything at once, this is what allows you to get the Artifact of Sun and Wavebeam at the same time. The Artifact of Sun is in this room now, but normally you need Plasma Beam to get it. And this trick wasted a lot of time, even if you do it flawlessly. The trick itself isn't what... Yeah. The trick itself doesn't save time, but the resulting route change does. Because he's getting the Artifact of Sun now, he doesn't need to come back here later with Plasma Beam to get it normally. It saves an entire trip back to Phendrana in a really annoying dash.
Okay, so essentially why that works is he got himself stuck in a wall and held a specific direction, so Samus just kept getting faster and faster and faster to the point where the game couldn't handle how fast Samus was rolling, and so you ended up getting that state which is called Infinite Speed. And as Icefire mentioned, you basically touch almost every everything you can interact with. You basically touch almost all of it at once. And so it doesn't show that he got the Artifact of Sun, but because he got it at the same time as the Wavebeam, he does have it.
And we're lucky that trick works because the artifact doesn't reposition you like some do.
Okay, so what Sjorec did there was do a dash to skip a puzzle where you use Boost Ball to bring down a bridge.
Yeah. Once again, going back to any kind of tech that gives you extra movement speed or lets you jump or dash longer really breaks this game harder than it would in most because of how closed up the environments are. So the next item Sjorc's going to be going from here is getting the artifact of Life Giver and getting Ice Beam and Power Bombs. This game, when played using the intended route, has a lot of backtracking, and through the years we found a lot of sequence breaks to remove that backtracking, but unfortunately some of it is still there, and this trip back to Chozo is one of them. So because of the difficulty Skull had during Flagra and Wild, the gap between these races has gotten pretty large. So like we saw before, Skull's going to have to go to Phendrana, get Boost, get Wave, get the Artifact of Sun, and then head back to Chozo as Sjorc's doing now. Sjorec, he messed up the bomb jump, but he didn't straight up fall off really wild. He didn't have to reset like Skull did.
Yeah, Artifact of Sun doesn't have a cutscene though, because you usually get it in Morph Ball.
Yeah. I was mentioning how it's lucky that Sun wasn't one of those that reposition you.
Oh yeah, because you also get Wave Beam at the same time.
Yeah. Please put echoes above general.
Okay, so what Sjorc's doing here is getting ready another infinite speed in order to get a power bomb expansion behind a wall of Bendesium. Bendesium can only be broken with a power bomb, so he's just going to use infinite speed in order to get that expansion instead. Unfortunately, with the lag in this room, it takes even longer. So
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure why, but doing infinite speed in this room slows down the frame rate a lot.
Yeah. So for doing like Wave Sun, it takes like about 51 seconds. Where in this room in Magma Pool, it takes about 62 seconds. But it doesn't affect in-game time because the reduced frame rate also slows the rate at which the in-game clock is working. And the other thing is, it cuts out a lot of backtracking that old routes did.
I don't think we mentioned how infinite speed touches everything. I don't think we did, so you have to boost. Basically, when you're in infinite speed, which is what you see here with the ball without the shell, and you boost, that's how you touch almost everything that's loaded.
Yeah, you got to be a little careful though, because in certain places it can crash. That's not as bad in this game as it is in Prime 2. Prime 2 is very unforgiving with infinite speed, and you can easily crash your game. The other thing is he needs to make sure not to unmorph until he hits the save station.
Yeah, and you'll probably see it for a little bit here before he hits the save station. Yeah, nice, just going straight to it.
Yeah, essentially what happens is the camera is spinning as well, and yeah, if you end up in that state, your beam doesn't work, but bombs do, but really you can't see anything. So you end up being stuck, and it's nearly impossible to fix it. So Sjorec did a ghetto jump in order to get out of bounds here. He's now going for Ice Beam. I think the only time I've actively tried crashing the game was when I got stuck during early newborn.
So this trick, in addition to saving a whole bunch of RTA, it skips 3 rooms, and more importantly, lets you skip a ghost fight later, which saves about 20 seconds. This trick got its name, Ice Beam before Flagra, because in older routes it was actually done before you fought Flagra. But with the recent round changes, that's no longer the case.
Okay, what Sjorec did there was he tried to hit a load trigger. Unfortunately, for some reason, I believe it's based on when you get to the door in Energy Core prior to this room loading, the load triggers will change positions. So he went to the original load trigger, and it didn't do anything. So he had to do the backup and go to the other spot, and luckily the load trigger was there. Right there is hitting another load trigger.
It's neat. You get to see both races doing both wall crawls at different times. Looks like Skull's a little high up, just like Sjorec was. He boosted off. Dang. So Sjorec's being really careful here as he transitions this door, because the trigger that activates the ghost fight in this room is right next to the transition trigger. And when you do that, it makes it harder to get back in bounds because the door's locked, so you got to shoot a specific way. He got back in bounds there by doing what's called a door warp. So how we mentioned how rooms aren't always loaded, he deliberately delayed the loading of that room until he was where he would be if he was normally inside it, and then he shot the door, which loaded the room around him and let him get back in bounds. He's too high again. Ah, he still made it in. Wow. That was surprising.
Alright, so this is one of the main reasons why getting that power bomb earlier was so important, because he's coming now to get X-ray visor. And you need a power bomb in order to get that.
Yeah, and before this route was figured out, instead of doing that IS and magma pool, you would get a power bomb in Fendrana's edge and then backtrack here later, which was quite a big detour.
Oh, nice. The half pipe wasn't being mean to him. This half pipe is awful sometimes. Like, sometimes you can just get stuck for no reason, but it decided to behave for Sjorec right now.
You always have to boost into that inbounds there. Well, actually, I believe there's a way to just unmorph inbounds, but I doubt it's easy. I think that's what the task did, actually. Yes and no. If you want to clip through a ceiling, one, you have to transition the room so that the game thinks you're in a different room, so it won't try to reposition you. And then you have to fall into a ceiling, morph, and then unmorph, and hopefully it'll let you clip through.
Yeah, so normally you're supposed to jump up a specific set of platforms and then fight a Chozo ghost. But what Sjorec is going to do here is jump on this rock and then do an R jump across in order to get back.
Unfortunately, if you're too high up that slope, you actually can't unmorph. The game won't let you, because the slot above it is right above your head. So now that Sjorec has X-ray, he's going to go back to Magmor, and then back to Fendrana, but he's going to go from the back of labs. He's going to pick up Plasma Beam on the way, and then he's going to go get the artifacts in Far Fendrana, get Thermal Visor, and hit the mines. I don't know if the direction the ball's facing is important at all.
For
ceiling warping. I don't think it is.
I don't think it is. It is easier to ceiling warp off a slope or a slanted ceiling than off a flat ceiling. All right, so Sjorec quickly switched over to like it normally doesn't matter which beam you have to open up the blue doors, but the reason Sjorec switched to power beam there is because every other beam it's slow to go back to the beam after a missile. So he switches to Power Beam just to be able to open the door faster. Just a very small optimization.
Dude, Siki got Prime emotes in the channel.
Yep.
So apparently, FFC, this Metroid Rocks emote, they didn't like that it had a background. Story is that Skull, the maker of it, submitted it, and they didn't want him. They wanted him to remove the background or make it transparent or something like that. But when he explained, it needs to have a background, it's a meme. Suddenly that made everything better, and FFC just approved it right away.
Okay, so what Sjorec did was normally you need Spider Ball to get across Twin Fire Tunnel, but you can just there's a portion of a wall you can jump on, and then you can dash across using the spider track to dash.
And so Jorek's getting Plasma here, and normally you need Grapple Beam for that and Spider Ball. But again, because there's so many tricks to give you extra jump height and length in this game, you can just jump straight to the platforms and start solving the puzzle.
And he did a ghetto jump to skip the spider track there.
So this is the second half of the puzzle where there's a spider track going all the way across the room, and you're supposed to do a bunch of bomb jumps and avoid enemies, but you can just jump straight up to the door, skipping all of that spider.
Yeah, it means you don't need Spider Ball, and you also don't need to do that extremely long puzzle. It's also a pretty boring one. The other thing is, this is one of the reasons why we play on version or NTSC 0-00 is because that door on player's choice is locked until you have Grapple Beam.
And if you haven't noticed, we will not be picking up Grapple Beam this run.
Yeah, and if we were using player's choice, it would be 100% required. There's no way to get around it.
A lot of the Prime runners, including myself, have been sequence breaking this game for so long that we've completely forgotten a lot of the places where you need Grapple Beam or Spider. Well, maybe not need, but where you're supposed to be using them. I remember talking the other day, actually, and saying how you only needed Spider Ball to get Plasma Beam, because I had completely forgotten that you're supposed to grapple swing to the boost platforms.
Yeah, like I was wondering, because there's a Power Bomb in Phendrana's Edge, and I thought, oh, all you're supposed to need is Grapple Beam, so what's the point of saying you need main Power Bombs? You need main Power Bombs normally in order to get Grapple Beam.
Yeah.
So these are some little things that, as Prime speedrunners, we normally forget.
And because it's retro, in addition to already having a big pile of rocks you need to blow up with power bombs in front of this puzzle you need to solve for Grapple Beam, in later versions they also added another big pile of rocks right in front of the Grapple Beam door. Yeah, need speedrun meme.
Yeah. Oh, and for Plasma Beam in the PAL version, there is a Power Bomb rubble block in the way.
Because Retro just loves adding rocks in front of all the doors.
Okay, so normally you need grapple beam to get up here, but Sjorec is just going to jump on this branch and do a ghetto jump onto these platforms.
And then ironically use the grapple beam point itself to get a faster dash to the door. Thanks, grapple beam point, for completely not serving your purpose.
So Sjorec is opting not to get the power bomb expansion, which means he's going to need to rely on a power bomb drop in the pirate labs.
Yeah, so I mentioned earlier that he's going through labs and he's going to mines. He can't get to mines without a power bomb. There's a bunch of rocks in the hallway you're supposed to go. So without picking up that expansion, the only other way you can get power bombs is by drops. And drops in this game are completely based on RNG. They have a percentage of chance that they can be dropped over other items. And for most of these rooms in Far From Drana, the power bomb drop chance is pretty abysmal.
Yeah, for the rooms he's going to farm for it, it's about 2 and 7. In this game, it's all based on the drops are based off the room and not based off the enemies for the most part. In Prime 2 and Echoes, the drop rate is actually based on how many missiles you have, how many power bombs you have, what your health is. This game simply doesn't care. It could be like, oh, you're at 10 health? Yeah, let's give you more missiles.
Oh, you have no missiles and you're in front of a missile door? Oh, here I have 10 health on the house. So I don't have audio, so I don't know if Edward's gonna break the glass or not.
Sounds like, or I can't say it sounds like it. Let's hope Edward broke the glass. Okay, so there's a pirate in here who we call Edward. You're not supposed to enter the room from this. Yeah, you're not supposed to enter the room this way. He's entering the room backwards. And there's a pirate who we name Edward that jumps up and breaks the glass. There's no other way for that glass to be broken. So if you end up getting too close to Edward, he's going to act like every other pirate and is going to attack you as opposed to breaking the glass.
Yeah, and of course that glass is in the way from coming up through this room backwards. The pirates are really good at designing their bases where there's no way to get through their base without breaking a wall.
Well, there's no way that we know. Yeah, so Sjorec luckily got a power bomb drop in this room. Oh, here you're normally supposed to use plasma beam in one of the control towers to be able to shoot an ice window and then use a missile to shoot that down. But you can just jump over and fire the missile like he did.
So yeah, something not explained to people that may not be familiar with Prime. All these blue things they're collecting, the artifacts, they're basically supposed to be a late game fetch quest where you collect all these artifacts to trigger the final boss fight so you can finish the game. And the reason Retro added them in there is so that once you have all your items, you have something to do with them other than complete the game in the next 5 minutes. And so you're supposed to go through this breadcrumb hunt where you're using hints from an artifact temple to figure out where these artifacts are and collect them. And what isn't shown here is just how elegantly they've all been routed into the game while you're still collecting your core items. So that by the time you're done and finished up, you have all the artifacts and you can start the final bosses right away.
So Sjorec is opting to get the energy tank here. Normally we don't grab that energy tank, but it's safer.
It's the tank of shame. We often don't pick up that tank because in the next 3 or so rooms, there's another energy tank that's just waiting right there.
And this energy tank's even faster to get.
So Sjorec just picked up thermal visor here. Fun fact: this visor is not required to beat the game, but it does make it faster. Or at the very least, it makes it faster for humans as you use it to lock on to enemies.
Yeah, it costs less than 5 seconds of in-game time to get that thermal visor.
If you are a robot, aka a TAS, you don't need that visor because you could just blind fire at the final boss, which you use it for. Which, by the way, hint hint, you should watch.
Now Sjorec is heading over to phase on lines, and you'll see why in a moment. Why he needed power bomb. Now he needs another power bomb about 2-3 rooms later. Luckily, one of these zoomers has a 100% chance of dropping a power bomb.
Yeah, what isn't seen here is that you're not supposed to be coming through mines this way. This is actually backwards. And so they have that one zoomer drop a power bomb so that when you're leaving mines, you'll always have a guaranteed way to escape. But coming backwards, it's not exactly the same thing.
Yeah, that's the other reason why when you go get X-ray visor and artifact Chozo, there's an enemy there that has a 100% chance of dropping a power bomb. Otherwise, there is no way as a casual player to get out. He's gonna boost off. All right, he's fine.
Yeah, Jagger, this game doesn't actively try to block you off other than some artifacts are supposed to require a certain set of items. There's nothing stopping you even as a casual player from getting them while you play the rest of the game.
So yes, if you don't know any of the sequence breaks, but you know where they are, you can get them regardless. So that's always nice.
Yeah, Echo's made a mistake in making that essentially endgame only with them requiring Dark Visor.
And Light Suit.
Yeah.
For a lot of them. I just saw Skull's stream for a second and thought that he was at the very beginning again. That was very weird.
Or at the very end. You visited this ship 3 times?
Yes. Yeah. Alright, so... Sjorec is... Okay, so Sjorec is going to activate a Elite Pirate fight. So if you start this fight from the side... the Elite Pirate is trying to turn in order to see you and then do a little scream animation, and then will block your attacks. But if you just stay on the side, then he's just gonna turn around like an idiot.
Yeah, he's programmed so that he will not do anything else until he gets some nice good eye contact with you. And all forms of Elite Pirate suffer from the same flaw, which you will see a few times more in this run.
Alright, so there are over 300 different possible mazes. Odd numbers only, between 15 and 55. No 53. So what I linked was or what I copied was using a program called Maze Finder, I was able to determine which maze he has. So he got about average luck, a 35 square maze.
Yeah, that Maze Finder program's written by Miles.
Yeah, shout out to Miles. Shout out to Miles who physically drew all 300 and something odd mazes.
The Prime community is very impressive in that there's quite a few very smart people that have some really great work ethic into figuring out how this game works. One of them is Miles, and the other's Paraxade, who created the absolutely amazing Prime World Editor, where you can actually open up the game's files and look at the levels and edit them. It's a really impressive tool, and just big shout out to the community for being there and doing so many cool things with this game.
That Prime World Editor allows us to figure out where some load triggers are and where just a bunch of stuff is, and it's helped with routing. It's helped with optimizing rooms. And then also to the people we have who task. We have two or three people actively task. One of them being Edzan, and the other one being Andy. Andy recently released his any % task, which has been put up in chat a couple times. Incredible work. Ooh, yeah. So what Sjorec is doing here is he's doing a dash off the missile expansion in order to skip the Spider Ball track, because he doesn't have Spider Ball. Because fighting Thardus is slow and horrible, and yeah.
Yeah, you dragon, you're right. So this new route was actually timed by Hazel, and before then, nobody had really considered it to be faster.
Yeah, so just overall, the community has been very, very good at that. And then one more shout out to Justin DM, who has done a lot of room optimizing, and he also found the secret world, which secret world is a term for going out of bounds. Justin found the secret world that allows us to make frigate wall crawl be faster a reality.
No, it's my creature. You can't have it. It belongs to them.
Alright, so now Sjorec is going through lower mines. Luckily, these Hunter Metroids are weak to Ice Beam and a Missile Shot, because these Hunter Metroids are awful. Oh, that dash is difficult. if what Omega Pirate does is if you skip the cutscene and start the fight on the side, then the animation of him breaking the glass doesn't normally happen, or it just doesn't happen until later. So what he's doing is he's breaking off the armor now, and Omega Pirate acts the same way as the elite pirates. He tries to look at you and will just turn like a complete idiot until he can't see you.
Plasma beam. So I'm guessing Sjorec here is saving missiles for a later fight where they become pretty important. But normally you would just continue spamming missiles until all the armor around OP is dead.
Okay, so he was... Okay, so Omega Pirate works, using fully charged and Power Bomb for the last phase, but the pools that Omega Pirate spawns out of, they're not random. Omega Pirate will spawn in the pool that's furthest away from you and will also not appear in the same pool twice. Oh, hey, look, gravity suit.
So yeah, I'm not exactly sure the exact details on why, but when you get a cutscene like that with Varia on, I'm guessing it just like increments the suit. I don't know. It just like adds your suit level by 1, something like that. But either way, that's why it displays gravity suit instead of phase-on suit. But don't be confused. Sjorec does have phase-on suit now.
Yeah, so... Yeah, exactly. It just shows the next... That's all. Oh, and apparently until you hit an elevator, her hand is also,
Still Varia, yeah.
Still Varia, yep. Because Retro.
Because quite understandably, Retro has not developed counter support for getting phase-on suit without gravity suit.
They also didn't make phase-on suit without Spider Ball, because you're supposed to have Spider Ball at this point. Phase-on suit's a very late game item.
The latest game. It is the last required item you get.
Oh, yeah, so I knew it was one of the last. So yeah, Sjorec went back to go get the artifact in Newborn. There is a way to get that artifact without having to backtrack, but it requires a very, very difficult wall crawl in order to get it, which can easily soft lock, and getting out of bounds in the first place is extremely difficult. So,
yeah, the trick itself only saves about 45 seconds, I believe.
Yeah, I think like 40 seconds.
And even failing the secret world once almost removes all of that time save.
Yeah, failing that secret world, it just takes a while to set up again. So, I believe there's only 2 players right now who use it in runs, and that's Justin DM and Varelix. So if you want to see early Newborn, go watch them. Okay, so what Sjorec is going to attempt to do here is he was going to skip that Elite Pirate trigger. It extends very high up, and so he was going to try to jump over it, but he missed.
What? Skull's doing Dartis Dash?
Skull's getting Spider Ball.
Why was he doing Dartis Dash?
He was doing Dartis Dash.
He was doing Dartis Dash.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Nice meme, Skull.
So yeah, this fight is really annoying, but he's essentially trying to destroy all the pieces, and doing that will get you the Spider Ball.
Yeah, so this boss is the boss that holds Spider Ball, and in order to kill him you have to blow up each of these rocks in sequence. First with Thermal Visor, and then a normal visor, which gets rid of him for good. And the problem with that is that I'm pretty sure the boss is programmed to roll like he is now, with the weakened rock facing away from you.
Yeah, and you can manually aim to hit those, but that's pretty difficult. Okay, what Sjorec is doing here is one of the gateways to why you shouldn't skip Spider Ball as a new player. This is called Spider Shafts, and so he did what there's called a bomb space jump. Basically, if you do an instant unmorph, which is when the camera's blocking Samus, you have 22 to 24 frames to jump. And so he's using that to get himself up the shaft without getting Spider Ball. That was very, very good.
Yeah, it was a pretty okay shaft.
It was first try, the BSJ.
So, as you can see, Sjorec made it look pretty easy, but these tricks are pretty tough. But the benefit is massive. As you can see, Skull is still killing this boss. It takes a very long time.
Yeah. Luckily, this boss fight itself isn't too far out of the way, but the fight itself takes forever. Jorec's having some difficulty with second shafts.
So, a lot of new players get tripped up on the BSJ, but in my opinion, the second shaft is a lot more annoying. So, the only way up the shaft here is to get on, is literally stand on the edge of a collision, sticking out of the wall. And if you miss that edge, you will not, you'll slide off and fall back down.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned this before, but if you fall, then you lose all control of Samus. Oh, he's entering the room backwards, so he's boosting through a wall. But you can't see the wall because he's entering backwards.
Yeah, there's a big wall of rocks right in front of him that you can't see. Ooh, Calvin knocked him off. So, this is the room where you get the artifact of Warrior. You have to defeat this, another form of an elite pirate, using the same trick you did for the last two, where you just run around in circles. You cannot trigger this fight, and therefore get the artifact of Warrior without main power bombs, which is the only reason you get them.
I mean, main power bombs are also on the way, but yeah, the reason you have to get it is because this fight just doesn't activate. No idea why.
Oh, you can be sure if you skip main power bombs, most of them would.
True.
Even if you have to depend on drops after that.
So yeah, now Skull has Spider Ball. One neat little trick about Spider Ball is that if you mash R, which you're normally supposed to hold in order to stay on the spider track, you get additional speed, and it allows you to move faster with Spider Ball. Okay, so what Sjorec is doing here is doing doing various collisions to skip a long and obnoxious puzzle.
So yeah, this is another puzzle that you need Spider for that thankfully you can skip.
Oh yeah, he doesn't have Spider, so he can't even do this puzzle if he wanted to.
Yeah, so in the middle of the room here you can see all these spider rails and you're supposed to spin parts of this middle pillar around to make them line up so that you can get to the top. This is a very strange final jump here.
Oh, this makes the jump easier, I think.
If you say so.
You have more room to land on the platform. I see why he did it.
Alright, so Sjorec has one more goal before you can start the final boss and finish the game, which is get the artifact of World back in Chozo Ruins. And thankfully, because of the way this game is mapped out, getting to Chozo Ruins is really quick coming from mines. You just have to take a quick 3-room detour through Talon Overworld, and it puts you right in the area where the artifact of World is.
Skull's getting his maze. Let's see what Skull has. Oh, I didn't catch it in time.
Whatever it is, it's a pretty long one. Looks like he's going through most of the maze.
Yeah.
Maze 127.
It is 127? Hmm?
No, I don't know, but he got lost.
I almost, I'm gonna go hunt the.
I triggered the ghost.
Yeah, so
he remedied them.
Sjorec was trying to skip the ghost fight and did not manage to get it.
So the ghost fight here locks all the doors and you can't leave. The only way to leave is by killing the ghost, and killing that ghost takes time. But if you jump onto a peg and then up to the bomb slot, you can skip this this ghost. But unfortunately, he fell a bit too low there and hit the trigger.
Oh, this one.
Are you like consciously trying to type softer?
Yeah, conscious. That's the maze. It was 43 squares. So yeah, having Spider Ball means we can just go up the shaft and not deal with what Sjorec went through.
And so the map layout between Chozo and Talon is a little weird. While the two elevators in Chozo Ruins are just two rooms next to each other, they come out at completely different points in Talon Overworld. And it loses in-game time. I mean, it loses real time, but saves in-game time by essentially warping across 10 or so rooms of Talon Overworld to get back to the ship and start the final boss fight.
Yeah. The other thing is that elevator you go down to Talon Overworld in is supposed to only be one way. But there is a way to get to it from the other side, and it used to be part of the route, but not anymore. With a couple of dashes and landing on some collision that you're not intended to because, well, retro.
Yeah. You can also just jump up, but that's not the point.
Alright, so he's going to the ship to refill on missiles for the final fight.
And before he misses an artifact.
Horrible. I think you got them all, though.
I've done that. I've done that at least twice.
You've missed an artifact?
Well, the first one was World.
Oh yeah, I've almost missed World before.
And the second was Spirit, I think.
Yeah, the only one I've ever really missed is World.
When you force a Metroid through a door, they die. Except if you you pop them off with a morph ball bomb when you're right next to the door.
Oh yeah, this room takes a long time to load. It is I think it's the longest door in Prime 1. But you know what? I'll take it because I was watching a Prime 3 run earlier, and the average door is about that long.
Yeah, it's theorized that if you play a run of Corruption intended route on the Wii U, it'd be faster than the current world record for Corruption on the original Wii version.
For 100%, yes.
Yeah.
For any percent, it's still slower, but yeah. Because the load times in Prime 3 are so bad. Alright, so he's waiting for Ridley to land, and then instead of going through his flight phase normally, he's gonna hit him. For some reason, the flight phase of Ridley is not immune to Boost Ball, and Boost Ball does something around 50,000 damage per frame.
Yeah, and Ridley is not coded to be invulnerable to Boost Ball like most bosses are. For his first phase, anyway. Ridley has a number of phases, and the first phase damage level is capped. If it wasn't, you could completely kill him with Boost Ball. But instead, it just brings him right down to his second phase right away.
Wow, Ridley's not getting nice with those dashes. You're not normally supposed to be able to hit Ridley when he does that, but if you just do a manual aim up and hit him, it's pretty difficult.
They fixed that in later versions, I believe. So that lock-on will still hit.
Oh, that's nice. Hey, fix it to make it good.
They fixed it by lowering his arm, if I remember correctly, so it's not in the way.
You got lucky there. Alright. Ridley was not nice that fight for Sjorec, but
As you can see there, Skull just dragged the Metroid into another room by having it latch on while he was going through, and with more ball, and the Metroid just decided that it was gonna die.
You know, just spontaneously combust through the door. That's fine.
Metroid's obviously being special in this game, and being that the only enemies that their movement is influenced by the player.
Yeah, oh, what Sjorec did there was to skip going around a large series of platforms. He did a ghetto jump in order to get onto a piece of collision, and did a few more jumps in order to skip the majority of that room.
So this is the second of the 3 final bosses, Metroid Prime Exo. The color of his shell indicates what the one and only beam that he's vulnerable to. And this boss has way too much health, and so it takes very, very long to kill him. In casual play and 100% runs, you'll have beam combos to make this fight faster because they do more damage, but here you just have to suffice with charge beam.
Yeah, so there are 4 sub-chambers. The first one, he only switches between power and wave once. The second sub-chamber adds in ice beam as well. The third sub-chamber has each beam once. And then the fourth sub-chamber is completely random. You have no idea what you're going to get, and sometimes he can change beams. He pretty much changes beams whenever he wants. Alright, so what Sjorec is going to try to do here is, during the time that he's running, there is a small window where you can snipe him and get a shot in, which makes the next phase shorter, but he missed the snipe.
So yeah, the Prime fight operates in phases, and damage during those phases is capped. As soon as you see him get stunned back there, the next phase begun, and you can start damaging him again.
Yeah, with the previous damage source until he switches. So, doing that with Plasma and Ice Beam is very critical for a quick fight, because Plasma and Ice do the most damage. Plasma's around 100 and Ice is 90. Meanwhile, Power's sitting at 50 and Wave is sitting at 40. So, Power and Wave is terrible. So we'll see what kind of RNG he gets. Ooh, Power first.
And so Sjorec was trying to get Prime to get into a loop there. I don't think that's actually something you want to be doing when he's on Power Wave, because then he won't switch.
This is Sub-Chamber 3.
Oh.
Yeah, so what he was trying to mention is that in Sub-Chamber 4, if you're next to him in melee range, ooh, that's very bad for RNG. Anyway, if you are within melee range, it manipulates Prime to using a melee attack, as opposed to changing beams at random.
And so the idea is you want him to be changing beams when he's in Wave or Power, and not when he's in the other two. Sjorec's not in the right spot for these snipes.
Yeah, he's too far forward. Alright, Plasma's up.
So he's gotten some pretty rotten luck on this sub-chamber. You want the higher damage beams first so that you can sneak in damage with the higher power beams when the cycle changes.
Yeah, the best order is, I believe if I'm not mistaken, it's Plasma, Power, Ice, Wave.
This guy needs to practice Prime, I think. So this fight can go a lot faster if you're hitting all the snipes, and unfortunately he's missing quite a few of them.
Yeah, it's a tricky fight to get your hands around. Luckily, the more you do it, the better it gets. So,
for anyone interested in learning and running this game, a lot of people don't appreciate how much time you can save on these final bosses. Optimal time can be 7 minutes and under, while I know myself personally, using myself as an example, before I practiced these final bosses was easily 10 or more. There's plenty of time to be saved here.
Oh yeah, I mean, there was one bad run I had with good RNG, and pretty good execution where I beat my best segment by 40 seconds. And I'd like to think I have a decent time in this game, so the amount of time you can save on this fight just by getting the snipes and some good RNG is massive. Even though Wave is the weakest beam, Wave is a lot easier to hit because it homes in as opposed to Power.
So yeah, the hitbox on this boss is very small, and the way Prime's lock-on mechanics works means that the target's moving around a lot, you're probably not going to hit it. And so the idea is you wait till specific times in Prime's animations before you shoot him to guarantee you get a nice solid hit on him.
Yeah, it also allows you to fully charge your shot, which... Oh, he needs to make sure to destroy those, because if he leaves those up and Prime phase ends, those things will still be around to hit him.
Yeah, I think he would have had enough health to survive ice, though. Plasma would have been an issue.
Plasma, you're done. The Plasma ones deal a ton of damage. I think at the health he's at, 2 of them hitting him would have brought him from full to dead.
Oh yeah, I've lost runs to that.
I think he's activating the music. Yep.
So if you skip this cutscene too early, it skips the music and you'll just have to deal with an eerily silent boss fight. It looks like you didn't do that. So about this final boss, all of its attacks, or at least I believe most of them are RNG dependent. So where he moves, what he does, when he lays pools, it can vary. And oh, he's in a really bad spot. And another bad part about this fight is that if he's in the wrong part of a room, he'll skip laying a pool. So you're supposed to kill this boss by using the phase-on beam of your arm cannon, which only works in the pools this boss lays on the ground after every cycle. And if he's in certain areas of the rooms, he won't lay that pool. He'll just skip to the next cycle and waste 30 seconds.
Yeah, it's usually when he's in, next to his corpse. That happens. It's a pain.
Unfortunately, you didn't kill this guy enough so that he died. You gotta kill him again. And so what he's doing here is he's trying to keep from running out of ammo from the pool. So every time you shoot phase-on beam from the pool diminishes a small amount. But by walking out and then shooting, you don't diminish the pool at all, and you can get a lot more damage on this boss than you normally would have been able to. It doesn't look like he's trying to attack cancel at all, though.
Yeah, attack cancel is about as simple as well, it's not so simple to execute, but it's as simple as it sounds how it works.
So you see when he's shooting him with the phase-on beam, he plays a stun animation, and you can time that so that as soon as he starts an attack or move, you can stun him and cancel that attack, which is faster.
Yeah, because he goes through a cycle of attacks, and he'll continue going through that cycle as long as you cancel them. Or he'll continue going through that cycle if you cancel them. If you do it too quick a rhythm, he won't go through an attack, so it takes a while. But attack canceling is pretty specific. This is another pool. Wow.
Yeah, he's doesn't look like Sjorc's standing on the twig here. He's just standing in the middle of the room.
Yeah, there's a twig in the back that you can stand on, and Essence pretty much always lays a pool if you're on that twig.
Yeah, because he tries to get closer to you. And by closer to you, he moves away from the spot where he'll skip pools. So, how many pools does he skip? 2? That's just a minute gone.
Yeah, he's skipped at least 2 pools.
So again, going back to, you can save a lot of time on these bosses. Skipping 2 pools is basically an entire minute just gone.
Alright.
There we go, Sjorec is finished. Looks like he's won this race. Skull's caught up too, he's just getting to the ship now.
Yeah, and he did have the Thardus fight to deal with, so Skull's moving pretty quickly considering everything that happened to him.
He fell quite a bit behind, but now he's only about 10 minutes behind compared to easily the half hour before, so.
That's a pretty difficult dash. It's good that you got that.
Did you see his video where he does it 5 times in a row or something like that?
No.
It's a shame if things didn't go so bad at Flagra, this race would have been pretty close.
Yeah. Neither of them left us a message. So yeah. Luckily in Prime 1 you can just hold down and you can just go skip right through the credits. Which makes it nice for checking in-game time. Because basically in Prime 1 you can't skip the final cutscene, but you can scroll through the credits. In Prime 3 you can skip the cutscene. What is he doing? You can skip the cutscene but can't skip the credits. And in Echoes you can't skip either. So where it doesn't take too long in Prime 1. In Echoes, it takes 8 minutes.
Dude, nice. You skipped the animation. Just immediately flew off.
But did he get flyby skip?
No, he didn't get flyby skip. He skipped the stun animation. Really just pieced out.
This is the Sjorec just having some fun here.
So yeah, and in addition to speeding up the credits, you can also
go backwards.
You can make them go backwards. Skull missed the boost. Let's see if he gets this one.
Yeah, you can actually get that boost before Ridley flies off. And if you do that, it plays a cutscene instead, which saves some in-game time.
Sjorec giving us a plenty of time to read these credits.
Take advantage of this. You might not be able to read them in a speedrun ever again.
Just cancels the exit. Just for a little bit.
Oh, Sjorec. You can read them in the tasks. Alright, so Sjorec got a 121. That's pretty good. We should have tried to guess the in-game time, but I didn't think about it at the time.
I am not familiar with the RTA timing for this high up. I'm sorry, but I'm not.
It's like 21 minutes. Roughly. I think with all the strats, it's about 20-30. This is why we hate fission Metroids. And you can't kill them without a power bomb. If I'm not mistaken, if you use too many plasma shots or use too many shots or whatever, they like divide instead.
So yeah, the entire concept behind fission Metroids is that they're vulnerable to any damage type in their first phase, and once they get damaged enough, they split into 2 beam-specific Metroids that you can then kill. But just dropping a power bomb just kills them right away. It's still slower than just not getting hit by them at all. And just when you thought you couldn't get enough of this annoying boss, he's back.
There we go.
You get to watch Skull fight through him now.
This fight is horrible. Skull's getting some pretty good shots on him though. Skull's in a good position for the snipes, but unfortunately has been missing a couple of them. definitely makes a big difference if he hits the if he gets the snipes for both plasma beam and ice beam, considering they do almost twice the damage power and wave. Okay, there's a little optimization. He knew ice was coming up, so instead of hitting him on the back turn with power, he just waited for ice. Skull seems to be getting some mediocre luck here. Having power and wave is once again pretty pretty slow. Alright, so down goes Exo, and now we have Essence. I was gonna say, Skull. I hope Skull's letting himself finish this race. Oh. Try and skip the pool. Fun.
Yeah, this boss can be quite annoying. Doesn't look like Skull's trying to attack cancel either.
Yeah. The thing is, if you go in and out of the pool perfectly, you can defeat this boss in 2 pools.
Yeah, I believe it's 20 seconds of in and out, and then 5 seconds of just blasting him.
Yeah, because the pool fully disappears after 5 or after like 25 seconds. Or after 20 seconds, it starts to deplete on its own. So you just wait. And Skull knows here that he will be able to instantly defeat Prime because Fission Metroids pop. So Metroids pop based on the amount of health you have remaining. If Prime has 75% or more, there's no Metroids. Between 50 and 75 is regular Metroids. Between 25 and 50 it's Hunters, and below 25% is Fission Metroids. So if you're not sure if he's at 25% or less, check the Metroids that pop out when he lays the pool. If he lays Fission Metroids, you don't need to go in and out of the pool. You can just target Prime and take him out. If there's Hunter Metroids, you do need to do a couple of ins and outs in the pool.
And oh yeah, Samus had gravity suit there for absolutely no reason.
Oh yeah, nice.
Skull's card's doing the same thing mine does, where just, for some reason it flickers out of black and white when you've got this video effect going.
Yeah. 122.
Wow, Skull's
Yeah.
called it right on the dot.
Okay, so
So, the RTA difference is very large, but the in-game time difference is almost minimal because Skull died, I think,
twice.
died or reset twice.
He
and that
died
cost
twice
him,
and reset once.
He died twice and reset once, so that cost a lot of time, but because the in-game timer goes off of the latest save, it just reset to what it was when he saved. Which is why you have a nearly almost a 20-minute difference in times, but only a 1 minute difference in game.
Yeah, so give these runners a follow. Pretty cool guys. And I just gotta give one more shout out to the Metroid Prime task. I linked it again. Hazel did an incredible job with it.